This is my 1992 Suzuki Samurai called Suzuki. In 2019, my mum and dad gave it to me as my first car, but unfortunately she failed her MOT on a load of welding. Luckily, Grandad Brock is an absolute legend at restoring old rusty cars, so he taught me a thing or two. I was so eager to get her back on the road that I never actually finished the restoration. Now I'm on a mission to restore her before summer so I can drive her with the top down in the sun.
Can we achieve this? I guess we'll find out.
So today we're swapping out Suzuki's carburetor, so it's got a Weber on it at the moment. We're putting a Toyota 3K. It's quite a popular carb for Samurais. It will require a bracket making for the throttle cable. You can buy a kit if you're out in the States that someone makes them. But we're going to make our own because I'm not ordering parts from America.
There is no budget.
So you're going to need the carb. I got this for $49.99 off eBay. You're going to need a 1992 Suzuki Samurai. You're going to need some tools, so angle grinder, drill. You're going to need some sheet metal for making the bracket. A vise, because we're going to need to put a bend in it. Universal cable repair kit.
Yeah, actually, you didn't need that one because you just didn't need it, so no explanation required.
Beers, because you're hungover and went out with your girlfriend's brother last night. And also to ease the pain of recording a load of video and then realising your mic wasn't on. So this is the old Weber. My dad fitted this, God knows, it must have been about 15 years ago. I mean, it worked out that I've had the car for seven years, so this, I don't even know. The original carb is vacuum choke, automatic choke, so a little bit more complicated, and I'm guessing that's why my dad swapped it for a Weber. Plus, I believe the Weber gives it a bit more power. So that's the old Weber off. Yeah, let's just spill petrol all over the garage. Nice shiny new Toyota Carb. So the bolt holes are different. So we need to move these studs to here, and then it should fit. So we'll have to take these little blanking. So that's just an Allen key. About to get it in the vise. So we need to do a bit of CAD, not computer aided design, but cardboard aided design. So we'll use the old gasket to measure out where the bolt holes are. Okay. Right. And then basically our piece wants to look like that. This is only rough, we'll straighten it out. And then we want the arm to come up over here like that. So it's going to be a fold there to make it upright. Should bolt down like that. And then the throttle cable should attach there. And then it should line up with the linkage. Need a bit taking off this. And then transfer it to our metal. Where's me pen? Now remember to always wear safety glasses when cutting metal. no, seriously, wear safety glasses, because I've had metal in both my eyes and it's not a fun time. That's better. Right, so some developments. This is where we're up to. This adapter plate for the Weber. So it's got those extra holes because it's a different bolt pattern to the original Carb that was on here, and also the Toyota is the same bolt pattern as the original Carb. But these have, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these extra holes here to mount the throttle cable, this mounting. So if you're coming from the original Carb, you're not going to be able to replicate this unless you've got one of these plates. Now this has got like a it's like an angle for the port in. What I'm actually going to do is flip this so these holes will match up with the new Carb. So if you look at there, if I was to do it this way, then it wouldn't seal right. But if I do it this way, that's going to make a decent seal. And I'll still have them holes for mounting my bracket. Another modification I've actually done is I've shaved some of the base plate off of this Carb because I wouldn't get the bolts in for the bracket otherwise. It's not pretty, but I think it's going to work. We've got a problem. Right, so the carb is supposed to sit that way. Okay. Now the problem with that is, right, one sec, let me put this back on. Right, so there's this adapter plate that we're using mainly because, as well, I was thinking about this, is that if I was to run it straight off the manifold, there's no spacer in there, and you're supposed to have a thermal spacer to stop the fuel from evaporating too much. Now, the bracket's there and it's fine, so we can fit it on this way, right? But the throttle cable isn't long enough. So what I was thinking is, let's put the carb on back to front and see if it works. Right, so the carb's on back to front now, and we want the cable to be about there. So we need to drill another hole. Hiya, mate. Yeah. Ta, mate. Right, so that goes on there. Having to hold the camera because I was filming all this on my phone using a mic stand so then I could get the proper angle, but my phone's died. Right, so that goes on there. And then that sits there. And then the cable should go there, but we need, so the linkage for the cable, we're going to have to drill out slightly because it's a tiny bit too small to get a bolt through there. Right. So that's the accelerator cable on. Now I need to fix this choke cable. Right, that's all on. Let's take that off. Right, now will she run? So we had to give it a bit of a, it's a rough tune, just to get it kind of idling right, and it was popping a tiny bit. I think it's just going to take me driving it and, you know, tune it over time, maybe even get the right tools to tune it, or take it to somewhere who, you know, tune old cars like this that are on carburetors. But I'm buzzing that it runs a lot better than the Weber. It's nothing against the Weber, it's just that it was old, probably needed a rebuild, but it was easier to do this than rebuild the old Carb. And if I ever do need to rebuild it again, all I need to do is pay 50 quid for a brand new Carb and just put it on. It's a bit of a no-brainer, to be honest. Yeah, buzzing. But that buzz would be short-lived. Okay, it's the next day since we installed the Carb. and this morning I thought, you know what, I'll just try turning the car on. So it fired up for all of like 2 seconds and died, and then wouldn't fire up again. So I've got 2 suspected issues. First is I've realised that I've installed the vacuum tubes wrong, so that's an easy fix. And the second is that I don't trust the ignition switch, so I'm gonna go ahead and replace that as well today. I was saving that for another episode, but I need to remove that as you know, a factor. Okay, just undoing the ignition switch. So one bolt's already out there. Just keep that bolt in there. Is that gone? Okay. And of course, the connectors are actually different, so I'm gonna have to work out which wires are which and swap the old plug onto the new one. Right, so that's new ignition fitted. No start yet though. Right, so that vacuum should have gone to here. See if that makes any difference. So it's morning of the third day of trying to get Suzuki to run properly. So I've got to go work, but yesterday, basically the battery went flat. And so I wasn't able to continue on trying to like get it to run. I suspect that fueling's an issue. What's hindering us as well is I'm pretty sure it's got a parasitic drain from the alternator. And I've not been able to find a alternator that would fit directly without having to do like any modifications to the wiring. That is up until this morning actually, and I found one on Amazon of all places. So I might order that for the weekend. Battery's fully charged. Right, this should fire up for a little bit. So, it's running again. I can't really explain why, really. I still suspect that fuel's running down back into the tank after it's stood. Either that or it's evaporating. I can't explain it.
Will Brock ever get this rusty piece of shit back on the road? Did humans really evolve from monkeys? Find out on the next episode of Brock's Garage.